Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone, perhaps at work, maybe in a personal setting, and you suddenly catch yourself explaining and explaining again why you're capable, why you're trustworthy, why you belong. And then, long after the moment has passed, you're replaying the conversation in your head, wondering if they really understood you. Sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. Because here's the truth: many of us are caught in the exhausting cycle of over explaining our worth. It feels like self protection, but really, it chips away at our confidence and, without realizing it, distances us from others. Now, why does this matter right now? Because we live in a world that constantly measures us through job titles, social media, performance reviews, even casual conversations. And if we're not careful, we fall into a trap, trying to justify our value at every turn. The cost? Burnout, strained relationships, and an ever present fear that we're not enough unless we explain ourselves into the ground. But today, we're going to turn that around. We're going to explore 5 signs that you may be over explaining your worth, and more importantly, how to break free from that cycle so you can reclaim your authentic voice and energy. Before we dive deep, let me just pause for a moment. Welcome to Wisdom on Purpose. This is a channel dedicated to equipping you with practical strategies to live with clarity, resilience, and a deep sense of direction. If you find today's message valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need it. Your support helps this mission grow and helps us bring more people into conversations that truly matter. So, let's get started. The first sign: the subtle shift in your conversations. Have you ever noticed that in new situations, you start to rehearse your achievements almost without realizing? Maybe you're meeting a new colleague, and instead of just saying, "I handle projects like this," you feel the urge to say, "Well, I've done this before at 3 companies, and I've achieved this, and I've managed that." It's like your CV sneaks into casual dialogue. This often happens when there's an unconscious fear of not being seen, so we overcompensate. But what's the result? Conversations stop being mutual exchanges and start becoming monologues. Here's an image. Imagine you're walking into a room with a giant backpack. Every time someone questions you, you pull out a folder: your degrees, your experience, your achievements. After a while, the weight of carrying that backpack becomes unbearable. The real shift comes when you trust yourself enough to leave the backpack at the door and walk in lightly. What does that look like in practice? First, catch yourself before rehashing credentials unnecessarily. Second, allow misunderstandings to live for a moment. People often fill in the blanks positively without you explaining. Third, focus on turning conversations back into dialogue. Ask questions. Be curious. That's when you stop performing and start connecting. And when you do, you'll notice people leaning in instead of glazing over. Which brings us to the second sign: the quest for constant validation. Let's be honest, we all love a little pat on the back. But for some, it becomes an endless loop. You achieve something, you get praised, you feel good for a moment. Then the high fades, and you're already seeking the next dose of affirmation. It's like drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. And disagreement, or even silence, feels unbearable. That's when we rush in with paragraphs of explanation, hoping to win approval. But validation dependency can become a treadmill. You're running, but you're not getting anywhere. So how do we step off that treadmill? First, recognize the pattern. When someone's quiet or not overly enthusiastic, notice the itch to explain yourself further. Second, practice self-validation. Before looking outward, ask, "Do I believe I handled that well?" Third, remind yourself that disagreement isn't rejection, it's just part of human diversity. And finally, consciously shorten your explanations. Try giving a statement and then pause. At first, the silence feels awkward. Over time, it feels powerful. That's when you begin to trust your own voice. Now, the third sign: the exhaustion of performance. Picture this: you've just finished a dinner party or a meeting, and instead of feeling energized by the social connection, you feel utterly drained. Why? Because you spent the whole time on stage. You weren't just being yourself, you were defending yourself, and it's exhausting to play that role. The tragedy is that, in trying to be impressive, you actually limit yourself. You avoid new challenges because you don't want to risk being misunderstood or underestimated. Growth opportunities slip away because the idea of having to explain yourself yet again feels unbearable. The way through this is to give yourself permission to show up imperfectly, to enter spaces without the armor of constant defense. Practically, this means experimenting with vulnerability. Next time you feel yourself about to defend or justify, ask instead, what if I just let this moment be? You'll be amazed at how little others need from you compared to what you've been giving. Also, prioritize rest and recharge, because when you stop performing all the time, you'll realize that genuine connection is much lighter and much more sustainable. The fourth sign, the impact on your relationships. Over-explaining doesn't just drain you, it drains the people around you. Think about it. You're with a friend, and every small misunderstanding turns into a 5-minute justification. Their eyes glaze over, not because they don't care, but because the conversation stopped being mutual. Over time, people expect this dynamic, and they withdraw curiosity. Instead of asking about your day, they brace for the explanation. And slowly, relationships start to feel transactional. You're proving, they're receiving. That's not connection. That's a performance contract. So how do we break that? Start by becoming aware of when others disengage. Noticing glazed eyes isn't a reason to panic. It's feedback. Then experiment with brevity. Share the headline first and only add details if asked. And most importantly, shift your focus outward. Ask genuine questions about the other person's experience. Show curiosity. Because when conversations become balanced again, relationships regain their spark. People don't want the polished version of you. They want the real you. And finally, the fifth sign, reclaiming your authentic voice. Here's the great news. You don't need to over-explain because your worth is already present. It's not a script to be memorized. It's a truth to be lived. The shift happens when you learn to trust silence, to hold eye contact without filling it with explanations, and to let your actions speak. Building inner confidence is a practice, not a switch. It starts with recognizing when you're about to over-explain and then pausing. It grows through affirmations of your own, not waiting for others to validate you. And it matures when you embrace the power of concise communication. Sometimes 3 words land stronger than 30. Trust that your worth is felt, even when unsaid. So let's tie this together. We've looked at 5 signs: the subtle shifts in your conversations, the quest for validation, the exhaustion of performance, the relational impact, and finally, the journey of reclaiming your voice. Each one points to the same truth. Over-explaining is not about convincing others. It's about convincing ourselves. But the moment you stop needing to, you step into a lighter, more powerful way of living. So what's the action plan? Here are 7 steps to start breaking the cycle. This week, track your conversations. Note when you feel the urge to rehash credentials or over-explain. Practice giving a short answer and pausing. Let silence do some of the heavy lifting. Write down 3 affirmations of your worth each morning that don't rely on achievements. Share your intention with a trusted friend so they can gently flag when you slip into explaining. Create small moments of vulnerability. Share without defending. Celebrate each time you notice yourself catching the pattern. Awareness itself is progress. At the end of the week, review your growth and reset your intentions. That's your week 1 starter plan. Track, pause, affirm, share, open, celebrate, review. And as we close, let me leave you with this. Your worth is not a courtroom case to be argued. It's a quiet strength to be lived. When you stop explaining and start embodying, you'll notice something remarkable. People listen more. They lean in. They trust you, not because of what you said, but because of the energy you carried. And you'll feel lighter, freer, and far more connected to the people around you. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this message resonated, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. This is Wisdom on Purpose, where we bring clarity, resilience, and purpose-driven insights to help you thrive in every season of life. Until next time, remember, your worth doesn't need an explanation. It simply needs your presence.